I'm now live, it says. So I'm thinking of doing a little stop action movie about the Battle of Jutland, or Jutland, or what do they, I think the Germans call it a different thing. Battle of Dogger Bank, is that what they call it? Anyway, in World War One, there was a opportunity where the British Royal Navy and the Imperial German fleet got together to do a little square dance, and they shot millions of shells at each other and sank a couple of boats. Both sides claimed victory, but I don't really know who won. Anyway, so I thought I would do a stop action thing, and I would do on a piece of paper this big. I thought it would be fun um, to illustrate the battle. So my little camera on my phone, my stop action phone, can get, you know, can make a drawing that's 4 inches by 3 inches and focus in on that, or even closer. So that's a boat blowing up, and these will be shells flying back and forth at each other. And Juicy Louise is on the joining me this morning from Cornwall, which is the other side of England from where the uh, fleet, the fleet's home port was. Scapa Flow, I think, is where the British fleet were, up in Scotland. And there was two British fleets collided with the German fleet. Anyway, I thought I would just sit here and do some drawings that I might use in this thing. Here's sort of my storyboard. It'll start with, the frame would show the ocean, maybe the Battle of Jutland written up here. And then you'd see, little smoke on the horizon, and the smoke would get a little bit closer, and that'll be the German fleet going that way, this way, and then the British fleet would be the opposite direction, and you'll see them going this way toward the middle of the North Sea. Is that how it would work? So here's the North Sea, here's England, here's Jutland. The British are going this way, and the Germans are going, what does the Imperial German flag look like? Why can't I think of that right now? I know what the Nazi flag looked like, but the Imperial one had, I think they look like this, with the eagle in there with stripes going up like that, black and white, cross of some sort. So they're going this way. So if I was in the middle on my little canoe, I would see these people going this way, like they're doing here, and I would over here I'd see these people entering from that part. So then you'll see them closer up. I'm right. When I think of Cornwall, I think of Tristan and Isolde, Act 3, where I think Tristan ran away from King Mark, wherever he was from. I don't know who these people were from. Anyway, Tristan ran away to Cornwall, I think, and it ends there. So at some point you'll see, a close up, more of a close up of ships in a row, even though they were not nearly that close. I mean, World War One, they were able to shoot a gun at a ship before even seeing the ship. The bullets went that far. Well, the German flag was it had the Imperial Navy flag had a big black with two black lines, sort of like the Norwegian flag. And then it had a big thing in the middle that had a imperial eagle on it. So maybe one of my frames can be, the flags flying. I can make 2 or 3 versions of the fluttering to make it look like it's fluttering. Here's the German one. And then the British one would be going the other way. The British naval flag is white with stripes, and then the what was up here in the canton? Oh, I know what it was. It was just the cross of St. Andrews or whatever it is, whatever just that one is, and then up here they had the Navy Jack. I mean the regular Jack, the regular flag. So that was the British flag, right? British Navy still has a flag like that, and then the German flag would look like this. So that'll be part of the frame. So these will be fluttering about. And then you'll see a drawing of a ship with its guns firing. So it'll be there, and then suddenly there'll be all this puffy smoke coming out of the guns. And then you'll see in the center, or in the middle of the movie, you'll just see all of these shells going back and forth. And then, yeah, I mean, the British flag, I love the British flag. In fact, I've got one 20 feet from me. But it's all folded up, ready to go back into storage. When we have the 4th of July, I usually hang about 50 flags. Half of them are American, United States flags. And then, so people don't think I'm a Trumper, I include the gay flag and the United Nations flag and the British flag and the Canadian flag. And I have a whole group of flags that are all international: Brazil, the Philippines, Iceland, Greece, France. I don't remember what they are now, but there are a bunch of them. But the British flag is comprised of, is it 3? Cross of St. George, St. Andrew, and then there's another one that um, there's the one that's like an X, and then there's one that looks like that, and then but there's like others that are overlapping. Um, Trying to think what they mean. I mean, there's two sets. There's the background color, which is blue. What is the background color? Blue. Blue is the background color, I guess. And then it has red and white crosses uh, that represent the other two. So is it the Kingdom of Wales, Scotland, and England then make up the Great Britain flag? Blue with white diagonal crosses, Scotland. Okay, I have that one in my head. So that makes up the background and the diagonal lines of that flag. Then we have to have the vertical and horizontal elements. White background with the red cross is England. With the vertical cross, right? White background. So then there must be white background with a diagonal red cross for the last one, for Wales. Dark diagonal escapes me, probably Wales. So essentially, if I were to create this flag from scratch, we start with blue, and then we put a white diagonal cross to represent Scotland. And then on top of that, we add the other two countries. And the white of the stripes that are there, the white of Scotland, become the background for the other two countries. And of course, they don't make them symmetrical edges. There's a wider part of white, just to make it difficult. And then there's a thing you say in Great Britain when you hoist the flag, the white right topmost. Is that how it goes? So the fat side of the, okay, here's our British flag. Let's just do it. So this is all blue. We got our watercolors here. We can paint it. can't we? So here we have blue, blue, and then the red. Hey, Levin, how are you? The red, I think the red on the horizontal and the vertical is even. The white space on either side is even. And then the vertical, um, the vertical line here, or the diagonal line, um, on the British flag, there's this width of that white line is fatter than this width. These are the same, I think. But on the diagonal ones, this is wider. Off center, yeah. So I sent you a letter this morning with my my wonky drawing of a boat, uh, Levin. It was fun to paint. I can't figure out. I'll try today to make colors really dark. This is a good watercolor set. I think Pelican made it, but my colors end up looking so faded when I look at them the next day. So what is the mnemonic, or whatever, what is the thing you say when you're hoisting this flag to know whether when you're hoisting it, here's the two holes. How do you know to put this one at the top, toward the top of the pole, rather than this one? And I think it has something to do with the fatter white line being at the top here, rather than if it was upside down. If you were hoisting it this way, the fat part is at the bottom. You have me there? Well, there is a thing. And a Britisher told me that. Um, so Levin, this wood carving sounds fun. Levin mentioned he's going to study wood carving, which there's one guy on Instagram who I hate because he's so goddamn good. No, I don't hate him because he's good. I'm very envious or jealous of his talents. Um, the thing I don't like, and it's horrible for me to say this, is his religious rather than taking credit for his own abilities, it's God that makes him be a good artist. And I don't know, there's something about that bothers me. Well, I've never really worked with color very well. In my paintings, oil paintings I did, they all got muddy. In my watercolors, they all get muddy. I'm just impatient. I don't mix enough on the palette to get the color I want. And I don't ever clean the brushes, so whatever color was in the brush before. So I've been watching these tutorials on watercolors, and I can't believe how many times they stick their brush in the water. They fill it up with paint rather than going to the paper. They put it in and they take it all out and they whack it against a towel, and then they go back. And I thought, oh my God, this is taking forever. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing with God is, like, we just had these floods in Texas, and this very conservative Instagram group that I stick my nose into, mainly because when they say things about gay people or trans people or whatever people, or poor people, you know, and how they deserve to be poor and how being gay is against Jesus's will. Oh, that's nonsense. And so they talked about the floods in Texas and how we should pray for them. Well, if you believe that a God is up there with a big divine ear, there's God's ear, and he can hear us and pay attention to us, and if you believe that he can do something, you also believe if it's an act of God, he made the flood in the first place to kill all of those people, including those children. And why would I suggest that that was not part of his plan? The best mix on paper too. Okay, I'll have to, I don't really know watercolor artists. I know artists that have done watercolors, and they are very good at it. And I do know watercolor artists. There's one guy that I sold pens to. His name is, what's his first name? His name is Hillcrest. And he lives in Paris, and he does these beautiful drawings, watercolors of Paris street scenes. And he's just amazing. But the watercolorists that I am attracted most to are the people like John Singer Sargent and Edward Hopper. And they are very good at using watercolor to represent what they're looking at, but they don't seem to use the tricks that a lot of watercolorists like to use. And when something looks a little too trick full of tricks, I like it less because I'm looking at the tricks rather than at the composition, and uh, that's the thing that makes me not like watercolors that use tricks. Um, but Sargent is amazing at watercolors. Edward Hopper is as well. Um, who else is someone whose watercolors I like? Well, I really liked yours, Levin, that you did of the two landscapes that you sent me a picture of. I thought that they were so spatial and so fresh at the same time, and the areas that had earthier colors, the browns and the sort of brownish green colors, you mixed very well, and it looked really, really, really nice, I thought. Um, So anyway, in the backyard, there's this chunk of wood. It's part of a birch tree. And it comes up like this, and there's two branches that come off this way. And then this part and the part that you don't see here are this beautiful, rich brown color. And I'm looking forward to trying to watercolor this. And of course, there's grays and blacks and greens, lichens and stuff here. So I'm going to try that. Uh, well, I appreciate that, Levin. I would like to do that. Have you draw something for me? I don't know what that would be. Surprise me, I guess. Um, uh, Looking at how Sargent draws faces, and he's able to get these beautiful expressions with just not a brush stroke, because when you're watercoloring, it isn't quite a brush stroke. It's more of a color fill in a outline, and then he adds a little bit of dark. Not so much with a brush stroke again. You are applying more paint to this moist area, so you don't see the brush strokes. You just see that paint was applied. Um, but I'm going to see what I can do. Um, this is an oil painting that looks like a watercolor. How did he manage that? I'd like to know. There was a a show of John Singer Sargent's work at the Boston Museum, and this painting here, which is a detail, see plate 316. Where's plate 316? Some watercolor. 316, more watercolors. There was, okay, here it is. This is a painting that was at the MFA show, and they're almost all portraits. And I was walking through the show, and I said, clearly this is a portrait of someone who didn't pay for his portrait. So in this picture is a hermit, and there he is right here. He just blends in with the forest, and that's what he looks like up close. And I just cracked up because there's so much humor in Sargent's work, I think. The way he puts the figures together, there's quite often this painting is in the museum in Boston, and the actual painting is on the wall, and in front of it are these two huge vases, the real vases that came from the house of the Boyd family. So anyway, I'll do my best to try to learn to use painting in a way that using watercolors in a way that makes me happy. And I don't know how that's going to be, because I don't know how to do it yet. But I am going to plan to do my little animation of the Battle of Jutland. So the World War I German flag, Levin, I think, is big white flag with black cross with two thin black things like this, and then right in the middle, right here, I think, is the big German eagle. Is that what it is, or is that up here? They also had one. I don't know if it was World War One or after World War One, where the Navy had up here. They had the Iron Cross and three, the black, white, and red, and then I think this was black. Um, so, Levin, what would you like me to draw? You give me a challenge and make it hard. We choose to go to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it is hard. Levin chooses to have Pierre do a drawing. I have in my bedroom here, that way, I have a World War One spiked helmet. Of course I do. Of course I do. And you don't have to tell, you can think about it and send me an email if you'd like. You don't have to tell me publicly or publicly. You can think, oh, funny thing that we had to get. How pretty it is at dawn here. Oh dear. You know, I grew up, I was born 69 years ago, and it seemed that, during the Kennedy era, I was too young to really appreciate it, but there was an optimism that we could see could exist in the world. And I know it's hard to see that today. And maybe there are white Christians in this country that see the deportation of people that don't look like them as optimistic, but I don't understand how they can see that. When they all go, they're going to have to hate someone else. They'll have to pick on other people. Let's see. Let's pretend I'm drawing that tree thing. So the tree, the interior of the tree that you see on the ends here is that color. Then you see it's mainly white with black lines. I'm just using the black ink. And you've got a shadow and a shadow, a shadow. So there's another thing about many people who do watercolors is so many of them do pictures of boats at mooring or at anchor, And there's nothing wrong with boats at anchor. There's nothing wrong with the ocean and the water. Um, it works. It's very easy to have watercolor. Well, I say it's easy. It looks easy. It's not easy, but to have watercolor represent water and reflections and boats and stuff. Um, I want to do some there in the backyard. There's a crusty old barrel and two bright red gas jugs in it. And I thought, well, I'll do a watercolor of that. Hey, Mister. Hey, Parker. How are you? 4th of July went well. Um, my father did some nice watercolors up here of fishing lures. I can also maybe try that. Yeah, I know it can get messy. Um, with oil paint, you can always scrape it off and try it again, or with pencil, you can always erase it. Watercolor, you're stuck, really. Yeah, big washes, that's the scary part. Or maybe that's part of it that makes me lazy, because I have to wait for it to dry, some of it to dry, before continuing with the other elements of it. Okay, Ross Patterson. There's some people that did these YouTube tutorials that were really, really good. Tim something was one of the guys' names. And I liked his voice. I liked his, I think his last name starts with a W. Yeah, Tim Wilmoth, that's his name. Do you like him? Is he, I mean, everything he said made sense to me. And the pictures he painted, many of them I liked very much. I liked the composition. I liked, even though some of them were the standard boats pulled up at the shore at low tide or whatever it was he was doing, I liked. Um, but and again, I shouldn't worry about what I'm going to do. I'm not a artist that has a reputation to uphold. I draw so many different kinds of things, from realism to erotica. For God's sake, I could do a painting of a boat on shore if I could do the rest of the stuff. Um, John Yardley's direct and bold. I'm going to get my other device here to see who these people are. Just a minute before I forget. Right back. Actually, before I look at that, I'll do the, I don't know if Louise is still here or not, but phrase to help know what is the top of the flag of Great Britain. White, wide top. White, 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 wide, white top is what it is. Anders Zorn, I know Anders Zorn. If you could send me a list of these in an email, that would be really, really great. Because you're listing them off pretty fast. And I know these are coming out of your memory, you're not looking it up. And let me look under the Imperial German Navy, Imperial German naval flag. Oh, it does have that. Okay, it does have the cross and the eagle. Now, what did the Nazi flag look like? I mean, it had the same thing, same design. Did they have the swastika? I think the swastika was in the middle. That's what that looked like. So the answer to white, wide, wide white top is how you do it. So this one, the Imperial German one, was what again? It has this up here, right? The Iron Cross at the top. Go back and look at it again. Just history. Oh, it has the lines here too. And then the eagle looks like that kind of an eagle. Yeah, and Levin, also, if you want, send me a request what you'd like me to draw. I like having a challenge that's given from someone else. It is sort of a fun thing to do with fellow artists, is to share drawings, or to, I do a drawing. I do this a lot with Russell, who I've drawn here live with many times. I'll do a drawing and then he'll do a drawing in response, just taking it, whether it's a subject matter or something else. Sometimes we draw together on the camera, and that's a lot of fun. Joseph Zbovic, I'll look at him up right now. Joseph Well, I think I think we can call you that. I can call you that anyway. If it makes you feel any better, we can both call each other artists with a small a, not a capital A. ZBU ZBU Zuvbik. Oh dear, yeah. I can see that he's very good at what he does. Um, wow. Yeah, it seems to me I have seen tutorials with him. Um, I'll show you the guy that bought a pen from me. He'll, this guy, Alex Hilkutz, is a uh, watercolorist living in Paris. He bought two pens from me, two or three pens from me, and he's very much sort of the John Singer Sargent style of playing around with lots of water and reflections and uplighting. But he loves. I would love to give him a challenge of not using red, just to see what happens. He loves red awnings, and many of his pictures have red. Quite a lot of red. He's very good, I think. Yes, yeah, the problem with those Nazis. Yes, good fashion sense. Um, just a minute here. That wasn't him. Um, living in New Jersey, and they have a mantis in the background, and I find him interesting because after sex, the girl eats her man alive. When I first read that, I thought that it was a human girl. I forgot the mantis part. Um, draw a mantis, if anything. Um, well, I can try. I can do a mantis. Uh, um, I know that when they're actually connected in the um, providing the DNA is when the head is chewed off, and meanwhile the rest of the body keeps doing what it's supposed to be doing. And they don't. Not all of them do that. There's certain species. There are only certain species of praying mantises that do consume the head of the boyfriend. But it might be fun to do a little animated drawing of it, um, where I'll draw it like I'm doing the Battle of Jutland here, where I'll maybe do a set of 10 drawings. That might be fun. And maybe I'll add watercolor to it. I also have these watercolor pen brushes, which are interesting. They When you draw with them, it feels like you're drawing with a dried up magic marker. and but that's what they're supposed to be like. And then you dip them in water, and then it's like you're drawing with a watercolor brush. So you have sort of dry brush and watercolor brush at the same time. So maybe I'll try that one. Um, what what do you feel you have the hardest thing drawing, Levin? What what would be what is a challenge that you feel you have in drawing or painting, watercoloring? Okay, bye bye, Juicy. I'm going to show you the picture of that guy that, or the images of the guy that does the carving. He's just too damn good. Except I can't remember his name. He's a calligrapher. I think his name is Eric something. Eric. Anyway, he's very good. I'll when I find him, I'll take a screenshot and send it to you. Um, Jake. His name is Jake. Jake Weidman, and he's Weid. He's just so goddamn good. But I wish he'd take credit for it rather than throwing God into it now. Um, so he's doing this heraldic thing, carving that out of wood. Uh, well, portraits are pretty tough. I'm yeah. I mean, he is a calligrapher, magnificent calligrapher, and he's also left-handed, which I find kudos. I have to give him credit for that. I think he's left-handed, and he's a freak of nature. But he's the thing he's working on now is a masterpiece, but he should have stopped long ago. He's just adding more and more and more stuff to this thing, and heraldry can be a lot of fun. You can add all sorts of shit to it, and unicorns and lions and tigers and bears and frou-frou and all of that stuff is a lot of fun to play with. But I think his I think he's adding too much. Now, of course, he has a client that's having him do this, so the client wants that. So with my thing here, I wonder if I'm going to be adding. If I'm going to take watercolor, and sort of dissolve the ink on these things to sort of make it be fun. Problem is, I can screw it up easily by screwing it up. But I think that might be fun, adding some watercolor. Or dissolve the ink. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Also, as you probably know from using ink, the ink, when it dissolves, it doesn't go gray. It usually goes a little bluer or a little bit browner, depending on what the ink, how the ink is made. I sent you an email, Levin, that you don't have to respond to if you don't want to. I just was curious. I think it might be fun to add a little bit of watercolor to these things. From my big battle of Jutland. I wonder if I should do it where it says Battle of, and then I take a picture and I write the word J, U, another picture T, L, and then you'll see the name progress. Why not? It's just paper. Hey, Caesar. Caesar. Is it Caesar or Cesar? Is it S-E-E or S-A-Y? Caesar, I think, or Caesar. And the word lover is to be used rather than wife. Is that what you implied in the when we were talking earlier? I saw it as a comment or something. Accent over the E. That doesn't help me. There could be an umlaut over the E for all I know. So Cesar, this is what you're asking. So S-A-Y, S-A-R, or I could be talking to Nicholas II of Russia, and I could be saying, say, Czar, what's up? What's up in Moscow? Did I ever get into gouache? I did it only once reluctantly, and I found it too chalky, too dusty. I have this fear or horror of, that's the same thing as fear, or disgust by clay. Plasticine clay doesn't bother me. Play-Doh doesn't bother me, but actual clay that sucks the moisture out of your hands, I hate. I don't like charcoal. I don't like pastels either. They're just too dusty. It creeps me out. Cesar. Okay, good. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Cesar. Uh, and then the gouache, the colors themselves seemed too chalky. So that was California today, Cesar. From clay. Yeah, I even flour on when my brother asks me to help him cook and I have to use flour, it just makes me mental. Sticking my hand in a bunch of sugar or salt doesn't bother me one bit. It's flour, just it's awful for me. So Cesar, what's up in California? I talked with uh, Trister Mateus yesterday, and the feeds I sent him were the wrong size. He had a number 0 sized wall pen, not a number 2 sized, and so that's going to be a hard one for him to find. I'm looking for one for a pen of my own as well. But thank you for being the mailman uh, for that. Yeah. You said no with lots of exclamation points. You might want to send me an email what the no was for. Oh dear. Uh, I don't know yet, Levin. I know you wanted some pens. Um, is there a way that we can chat face to face, Levin? Either through FaceTime or Zoom or something? Uh, yeah. A bummer about the pen parts, you mean? I hope nothing happened to any of his art. He got very sick and was gastro issues in the during the last days he was there, so he didn't have a very fun time. Had to quite often go to the restroom. Yeah, he's back in Finland now and finally feeling better. I'm sure you can do this FaceTime Android. Well, with Zoom, there is a way where you can uh, easily download an app, or uh, I tend to do it through this thing here or through FaceTime, Facebook, WhatsApp. I've used. Um, uh, yeah, October. Yes, October. I'm looking forward to that. How long do you think you would be staying in Boston in October? 18th through 25th. Okay, that's a good week ish. Um, I suppose you might want to stay downtown, either in Cambridge or Boston itself, to be close to stuff to see and do. Um, I'm not far from there, but Somerville isn't all that interesting. There's a hotel a few blocks away from me, but that's not a good place to spend a week. Um, but to go to be in Boston, um, where you're near lots of historic stuff or art museums would be. Will you have a hotel? What's the hotel will you be at? And have you been to the Gardener before, Cesar? No. There's a lot to choose from, and I haven't had use of suggesting a hotel in a long time. So, um, oh, she knows the name, but you okay? Good. Well, once I know that, I can maybe suggest uh, good ways to divide your trip. When my brothers and I went to Paris, I had everything planned out, and my little brother called me Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory because I was too nerdy about the trip or something. But my nephew was going, his son was going, and his son was interested in art and interested in history. So I divided Paris up into sections that allowed us to spend the entire day. Here's the Seine, and here our hotel right across the left bank, across from the Notre Dame Cathedral. So we're right in the middle. You couldn't, right in the middle of everything. So I wanted to do medieval era here, where we just spend time going to the medieval museum. We'd see Notre Dame, we'd see Sacre Coeur, and then we would see maybe the Louvre and the uh, history in the 1600s, 1700s, and then we do the Eiffel Tower with the 1800s, or we here's the Eiffel Tower. I'm sorry, here and the Les Invalides maybe that day, And but we wouldn't have to go on trains, subways all over the place. But instead, what we did, we went up and down and back and forth, and we were done for the day. Then we do the same thing the second time. It was just driving me mental. So if you're located in a particular spot, I can say, going south from where you are, these are places that I think would be fun to go to. And if you're going to go north, do that stuff on that day. Boston is small enough, though, that you can easily walk around the whole city if you want to. But there's the waterfront and the USS Constitution and the Navy Yard and stuff. And then there's the Modern Art Museum. That could be the harbor waterfront day. Right. The bleep you might have heard was a news thing saying men are looking for ingestible testosterone. What the hell does that mean? I'd like to know. That sounds like it sounds I'm sure it's different than what is going through my mind. Let me just see if I can find that news thing here. Men are looking for ingestible testosterone. Open news. No, none of these are coming up with men in ingestible. Flooding, measles. Thank God we've got RFK Jr. in charge. Measles, just eat a carrot. We'll be fine. Anyway, I don't know. For raping, synonym for raping. Yes, I don't know. Who knows what it is? My battery is running out here, so I'm going to have to say goodbye soon. But I've got a plan for me. I'm going to do a watercolor of this thing, and I'm going to work on my Battle of Jutland animated stop action animation. It's not really stop action that what I'm doing. I'm using a stop action creator to make it, but it's more just drawing different drawings. So anyway, Cesar, it's really nice seeing you, and do send me an email about the dates and where the hotel is and whatever it was that you said no to, so I know what I'm not supposed to say or supposed to know. Levin, yeah, okay, great. Thank you so much, Levin. Bye, everyone.